You sound a bit under the weather. You got a cold?
Nah, it's just allergies. You got a tissue?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Avengers tissues?
Yeah, for when your allergies really hulk out. Greetings, fellow OMRs, that'd be One More Rewriters. It's the One More Rewrite Podcast. I'm Jester, this is Lunchbox, coming at you from the Big Red Couch. This week we're going to be talking a little bit about the Fast and the Furious 8 will be a thing. The first look at Jared Leto's Joker, Frank Miller returning to do a third installment of the Dark Knight comic book series, and of course the Black Mass trailer that dropped this past week with Johnny Depp. So, just to get the ball rolling here, let's talk about the fact that the Fast and the Furious 8 will be happening. I think that was Vin Diesel himself came out and said, oh yeah, this is going to be a thing.
And he said he already had some ideas for what it should be, which I thought was quite interesting considering that, well, the guy who was presumably the star of the series isn't
there anymore. Yes. Well, with Paul Walker's passing, it's hard to think what they're going to do. Again, I still haven't seen any of these. I need to sit down and catch up on them. But, yeah, I mean, it was pretty apparent that Paul Walker was in all of them. Paul Walker's the star.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to fathom what they're going to do with it. I mean, but it's obvious that they want to do this, and it makes sense. I mean, it's just like printing money.
Yeah, basically. And I think that probably Paul Walker's not necessary to the franchise.
Ouch.
I mean, you know, he was the main character, but you could certainly branch off fairly easily and make Vin Diesel's character the main character.
Well, yeah.
Or even have a spin-off starring The Rock. You know,
that's true. You know, spin-off potential.
Like Michelle Rodriguez could have her own spin-off.
Yeah.
You know, that's
when you have sort of an ensemble cast. You could have spin-off.
And it is, and it's a cast of thousands. You could basically make the movie about any one of those characters and have it, you know, oh, this guy got into trouble, and now, you know, whoever is the main character because he's having problems, because there are like 10 of them now in the movie that all are taking care of things, so...
Yeah, well, it begs the question, not only with who would they go with, and it's way early on because it's Vin Diesel saying, oh, I've got ideas, and that's great. Maybe he's BSing, I don't know, or maybe he actually does have stuff in mind that, like, always occurred to him, wouldn't it be neat if, like we said, do a spin-off.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering at this point how they would address Paul Walker's death, whether they would have it some sort of homage to him and say, like, he died or something, have a stunt double, die in an accident.
Don't you have the...
I don't know.
Right, well, doesn't he kind of disappear in this movie? I mean, I haven't seen the new one. I really want to, but I haven't seen the new one yet.
I haven't seen the new one either.
So I don't know how they deal with him leaving in this one. So that really kind of informs how they would deal with it in future episodes. So, I don't know, maybe he, you know, retires or whatever, and you just don't, you know, you might mention him in passing, but, which I think you kind of have to do. Like, in the next movie, you kind of mention, oh, like, no, he's retired in the Keys. He'd never want to come out for this. And then you move on. Okay, you know?
So you think they'd probably have his character have a happy ending because everybody on the cast probably misses him. Yeah, no, I can see that.
He went off and, you know, he's married and he's got his 2 kids and he's living in the Keys or Bahamas or whatever. And, you know, or some non-extradition treaty country. And so... yeah. So it's fine, you know, so everybody lives happily ever after always.
Yeah, which I'm fine with, and, you know, it's, how I say it, it's sad because you know they're going to have to acknowledge it in some way, and I think you're right, it's probably more likely he's going to be off in some non-extradition treaty country, living in the Keys, whatever. Like, cause I mean, if I was friends with the guy, that's how I'd want to end it. It's like, I don't want to have some sort of horrible ending for his character.
And certainly I don't think that you can, considering the way that he passed. You can't really have him die in the way that you would expect someone to die in a Fast and Furious movie, because that's just code. you know? So...
okay, so...
So, Interesting. We'll have to see where it goes.
I want to do a quick wrap on actually the weekend number, since we're talking about Fast and the Furious, which has passed the 300 million mark gross to date. That's just
over a billion worldwide.
Over a billion worldwide.
Over
that
billion
part I had
worldwide.
not heard, but that makes sense. Seeing just here in the States, they've already passed 300 million. Which I have to say, last year I remember it was only I was going to say Avengers. No, the Guardians of the Galaxy was the only movie last summer.
Yeah.
That managed to cross the 300 million mark, and even then, just barely. But that's here in the States.
Yeah.
I mean, worldwide it did what it did, but
more.
it's how do I say it? The summer box office has been down, but this has got to get people primed that their summers might be going up.
That we might have bigger summers, although then you've got Paul Blart 2.
Yes,
that
which
we all expected to be huge, and then people actually read reviews. I don't know when that started happening.
Yeah,
but
Paul Blart currently sits at number 3. It started off in 2, and how do I say it? Like, gross to date, looking at it, is 32 million, which has got to hurt, because I don't know how much they made it for. I'm sure they made it for not too much.
Probably for less than that.
Probably for less than that.
I'm sure they made money on it, but still, that's not a whole heck of a lot for, what is this? It's second week, third week?
Second week, and it's dropped to third, and the Friday estimates at this point are about 3.7 million for Friday, which, again, this is still Hollywood's pushing for April as the new summer start, which I can see why when you have Furious 7 like raking in $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yeah,
when you're that huge in April, I mean, who would have thunk it 10 years ago? But
yeah, really, no, I would not.
What came in at 2?
2 was Furious 7. Furious 7 came in at second so far, and it probably will, because it was beat out by $1 million. No, $100,000 by Age of Adeline. That sort of weird. I was gonna say what was the one with Brad Pitt compared it to before.
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button, ageless. Maybe it's more like Forever Young, whatever. But yeah, it came in first.
Young. But yeah, which actually surprises me, because I didn't expect that one to do that well. But
this is just Friday grosses, so we still have Saturday to account for. But the fact that it's edged it out just a little bit, maybe something will happen today.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It could be that Fast and Furious is finally trailing off a little bit, since this is its third week.
Third week?
Yeah.
Sure? I thought it was... Okay.
I was going to say, is it the second or third week? It's got to be its third week, because we were talking about it last week, because it's still holding on number 1. And Paul Blart had come in number 2.
Yeah.
And it had just opened, so yeah.
But I thought that Furious had been open for 2 weeks when Paul Blart came out.
Nah. Well, we can look that up later. Or you at home can look that up, but... The fact is,
I got it written down right here. Hold on.
Okay. Lunchbox has got it written down. I'll give you the top 5 for this week so far. Age of Adeline, number 1. Furious 7, number 2. Paul Blart 2 is in number 3. Boy, I sound like Casey Kasem. Unfriended is in 4th, which is just fine by me.
Nope, you're right.
And Home, which I don't know what the heck that is in 5th. Oh, wait, that's that weird animated feature that came out a little while back. And Ex Machina opened in 6th, for the record. But it looks like it's going to stay there, because compared to everything else, it's sitting like less than half of what Paul Blart 2 is making on a Friday in its second week. So that's probably not where it's going to
stay. Got much better reviews than I thought it would.
And yet they're at 6th place, not knocking Paul Blart.
Yeah, but how many screens? How many screens are you looking at?
How many screens are you looking at? Okay, more. 3,140. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I'm looking at The Longest Ride, which is in, it's in 7th, where it belongs. Sorry. Ex Machina, 1,255 screens, as compared to Paul Blart Mall Cops, which is like 3,600 screens. So,
right.
Okay.
Right, so it's on far fewer screens, so it's pulling in more per screen.
It's pulling more per screen. Okay, you got me there. It's just kind of sad to see that. I don't know. I would like almost to see that it do better than that, but well, I don't know.
Okay, what else you got?
Well, also dropping this week, just actually last night, is fresh pictures of Jared Leto. Leto. You say Leto, I say Leto. Well, let's call the whole thing off, especially after seeing these pictures of him as the Joker for next year's Suicide Squad.
Right.
It just, I don't know, it just feels so oversold. You look at the picture, he's covered in tattoos, he's not pale enough. I mean, they like touched up the photograph to make
certainly
it look...
they messed with the coloring.
They messed with the coloring, so he looks like grayish. And I know they had a lot to worry about / live up to in the expectation department. I mean, you've got Heath Ledger's performance, Jack Nicholson's performance. Heck, you've got Mark Hamill and Cesar Romero's performance. I mean, this is a long legacy.
Who's going to beat Mark Hamill? I mean, come on.
I know. Like,
a tour de force.
Tour de force on an animated series of the Joker. It's just, I'd still hold him up there, actually, as one of the top. The top. But yeah, that's some fierce competition. And that said, even Cesar Romero's Joker, with painted the mustache and all, still looks better to me than this. I mean, he's got like a purple glove on, like a purple surgical glove. It's like they're, I don't know.
It feels like they're trying too hard?
It's like they're trying too hard. He's covered in ha-ha tattoos, and he's got like his right arm or left arm, would that be, like covered in this giant smile tattoo thing, rather than him actually having either a scarred mouth that looks like a smiley face, or actually having some sort of chemical accident or whatever. He's got to like use his tattoo. So rather than him being some disfigured person, they're looking for this edgy.
Trying to make it more realistic.
Okay, I think that Heath Ledger's realistic was a lot more acceptable, because some weirdo nutbag who's scarred himself up with a smile, to me, is better than some freak job like, oh look, I've got like capped teeth, for crying out loud, in this photo. Like, what is he, a gang? Like he's Gangsta Joker or something. It looks.
I thought that it looked. He looked like a maniac in the picture. I like Jared Leto. I got to admit, I've enjoyed many of the films that he's been in, and always think that he's a great actor. So, I think that he can definitely do it. I think it's hard to judge an entire performance off of one picture, but certainly the look, it says Joker to me.
It doesn't to me.
Like, to me, I see that and I go, oh, it's a picture of the Joker. It's kind of an interesting take on the Joker, but you look at the picture and you know Joker.
See, here's the thing, and this all goes back to Tom Hanks. It really does.
Why you don't like Tom Hanks so hard?
You don't like him either. It goes back to our common complaint, which is Tom Hanks, when he's in a movie, oh look, it's Tom Hanks playing a mentally handicapped guy.
Right.
Oh look, it's Tom Hanks playing the guy with one red shirt.
But I never get that from Jared Leto.
No, I'm not saying that it looks like Jared Leto playing the Joker. I'm just saying it looks like somebody as the Joker. Like, not that he's not, how do I say it? Not that actor A as the Joker, but like some punk you picked off the street trying to imitate the Joker. Like, he's in a gang that emulates the Joker, not the actual Joker. You can have him in the same universe as the Joker, but for some reason, some weirdo decides that he wants to emulate him.
Like, he wants to be the Joker. He's trying to pretend to be the Joker.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It is because with Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, all the other ones, to me, they felt like the joke. They felt like somebody who was the Joker. Yes, even Cesar Romero with painted mustache and all. I keep on going over that because it just makes me laugh every time I see it. He still feels like the Joker to me. Of course, I grew up with the Adam West series, so before going on to the animated
Bob Kane's favorite.
Bob Kane's favorite.
I can see where if you're trying to make a more realistic version, you don't want to paint his face all up, but you still want to give the impression of Joker. And to me, it's impression of Joker rather than being painted face.
Impression of Joker? This isn't like high art. It's not impressionist painting here. I mean, he's got...
That's exactly what it is. It's a takeoff. I mean, Suicide Squad isn't cartoon version of it. They're letting criminals out of Arkham in order to do mercenary work. You know? I mean, this is more A-Team than it is...
It's the anti-A-Team, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's what the A-Team would be if they actually were guilty of all the crimes that they were accused of. It's
Now I want to watch A-Team, but I certainly don't want to watch Suicide Squad. I guess
I definitely want to see it. I think I like the look. I think that it's going to be interesting, and I enjoy having a different take on it.
I enjoy having a different take, and the problem to me is this is, if there's no other way of saying it, Joker is the quote-unquote star of the Suicide Squad, or at least from what I've heard. People are like, because after Heath Ledger and everything, I mean, like, he's a fan favorite as far as villainy goes, and you have, maybe it's because there's such an uphill battle and you have such a legacy to fight against. But also to me, it's just too much more of the, like, look, we're edgy, gritty, dark, look, he's covered in tattoos, and instead of a suit, which, okay, I admit the tailored suit is a little out of the realm of realism here,
right.
unless of course...
And so is the painted face.
No, the painted face still works to me. Again, watching... I'll give you this.
Where is he going to get the paint in prison?
In prison, I don't know. But how do I say it? That's why I always preferred the dropping him in a vat of chemicals thing. But the way he looks just doesn't feel...
But really, the dropping him in a vat of chemicals and now his skin actually looks like a Joker, like he's painted like a clown because he fell into chemicals, that's kind of silly. Let's try and make him look a little bit more like a real person. And he's just a maniac, and it mess up his hair. Now his hair is green.
Okay, well, then we get down to what I feel is kind of the root of the problem, which has been this: we need to really make it real. We need to make it realistic, and realistic means gritty and edgy, and it means dark, and it's just...
How do you not do that with a movie called Suicide Squad?
I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to have this over-the-top push for making it edgy, realistic, whatever.
And I don't think you need to make it comic booky, okay, Joel Schumacher? You don't need it to be comic booky.
I think you need a healthy somewhere in between, which is what the Marvel guys have figured out how to do, like a nice, healthy in-between. There's a bit of fantastical, and there's a bit of, like, okay, this is a little bit realistic. Yes, we've got mutants and X-Men and Iron Man. Okay, well, maybe not in the Marvel universe because of the whole, like, legality issues and who owns what rights. But I feel like it's just too much, trying too hard. Like, it's a style of doing movies to me that has outstayed its welcome, at least for me. Let's do it let's do it realistically, let's do it gritty, let's do it dark. It's what made Man of Steel not feel quite enough as a Superman movie. Yeah. There's actually a really good video on YouTube where they show like how different it would have looked stylistically if they wouldn't have desaturated it so much. And it's not that I didn't like Man of Steel. I actually watched it twice in the theaters, but holy cow, just adding the colors back in adds such... Resaturate it. Like, let's see what it seems like in color. It's just like, holy cow, Superman looks like Superman. He doesn't have this kind of bluish, dark, gritty...
And I see where you're coming from there. Like, I wouldn't make a Superman movie that way. I would make a Dark Knight movie that way.
Yeah.
And I think that if you want to make a standalone movie that has that realistic characters where each one of these people represents one of the characters from the universe and they're not actually that character. You know, they're not totally just white face paint Joker, but it is a character named the Joker that's kind of in that style. It's in the style of, rather than being that character fully. And I think that you can do that and take a step back from the universe and do a realistic version where you have each of these characters. Maybe Harley Quinn doesn't go running around in a Harlequin outfit, but she's just that character that always is like loving the Joker and happens to be named Harley Quinn. And you have the character that's the Joker that's a maniac and he's got green hair and he wears, the purple glove. And so he kind of like reminds you of the Joker, but it's not full
But the thing
comic,
is, but he's wearing one purple glove too. It's like, I was going to say something about like Michael Jackson.
Stylistically, that's the choice for a photograph. I don't know that they're going to do that in the movie, but stylistically, that's the choice for the photograph, and it makes for a good photograph.
I would argue it doesn't, but that's me. You know what? I'll step back for a second and say that when the first pictures of Heath Ledger were released of him as the Joker, there was a lot of backlash, and people were saying, "Oh my gosh," and blah blah blah. It looks terrible. They look like they've turned him into X, Y, and Z. And I wasn't quite as much in that camp. I was just like, I was ready to say, hey, wait and see. At least like he's got white makeup and red lips, and they're doing something a little bit different. But to me, it wasn't too different because overall, it still kind of felt and looked like the Joker.
Right.
I'll
I'm just sick of you're ruining my childhood. You have to take liberties with it. It's an old character. It's been around forever.
I'm all about people ruining my childhood. Well, maybe not that. But.
You want to take a new take on it, and it's a totally separate movie from the universe, as I understand it. Except that they're talking about having Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in there. And
if they did, that would totally
because then it brings it totally into the universe. And I don't know that you want to do that. I think you kind of want to have a Suicide Squad standalone movie, but we'll see. I mean, I think it's far too early to tell what exactly they're going to do with it. It's one picture. Let's go with it. Let's buy the ticket, take the ride, go with it.
I'll be waiting in dreaded anticipation of more pics. We'll wait to see what happens.
We'll wait for the trailer.
Then we'll rewrite it. At least I will. Speaking of trailers, this past week, new trailer for the film Black Mass dropped. It stars Johnny Depp. It's based on the gangster Whitey Bulger. And I have to say, Depp does look a little bit like a young Jack Nicholson.
He does, which is interesting.
With Christopher Walken eyes. They gave him like these cold blue contacts.
Like cold blue contacts, yeah.
He's young Jack Nicholson with Chris Walken eyes.
Well, yeah, he's playing Whitey Bulger.
Well, yeah.
Which kind of looks a little like Whitey Bulger. A little bit more than Jack Nicholson did, actually, because he basically played the character of Whitey Bulger in The Departed.
Yeah.
Which, not by name, but it's essentially the same guy. And so, the character was the same. But he's kind of the guy that's looking out for the community and all of that, but he just happens to be a gangster that's helping out. And just, really, watching that performance in there, Johnny Depp's really nailing it. You could tell in that trailer, you really feel him coming through in there.
Yeah.
And you feel him, being just...
subtle menace.
Yes, exactly. And and I think a little unfortunate that they chose to use that scene.
Really?
Well, as good as it is, I just kept the back of my mind just kept screaming.
Don't tell him.
No. It's so I'm funny. So what am I, some kind of a clown?
Okay,
here to
so
amuse you?
Yes, there's the casino kind of.
It's Goodfellas.
Oh, Goodfellas. Sorry, blank.
Joe Pesci, though, he's in both.
I was going to say it's Joe Pesci. It was
but he plays the same character in both.
I was going to say it was that Joe Pesci crossover.
But it's that Joe Pesci of what am I, a clown here to amuse you? It felt like exactly that scene.
It did
in that movie.
It did have that
exactly
feel because
that
you know the second his character.
I was just messing with you.
Yeah.
It
had the haha, I'm just messing with you stinger at the end, but at the same time, it's I'm not really messing with you. Look at him squirm, ha ha ha. It seems to me like Depp's character is the only one laughing in this scene because only he knows whether he was joking or not.
Yeah.
And just for setup, this isn't giving anything away. It's a trailer. Go watch it yourself. But still, he is sitting at a dinner table with one of his cohorts, and he says, "This is one of the best steaks I've ever had. What's your secret?" And he's like, "Oh, it's my grandmother's secret. Whatnot.
Family recipe.
Family recipe.
Family secret.
Family secret. Family secret." And he says that, and Johnny Depp's Bulger character keeps on pressing him. What is it? And then finally the guy said, kind of slyly says, "Oh, it's garlic and soy sauce."
Marinated in garlic and soy sauce.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. And it was and then he that little turn of oh, and so you give this up, you might give me up.
Yeah.
And he goes from poke prod, haha, to stone-faced, I am going to kill you because... And you're sitting there waiting. I actually was half waiting for the scene to end with him pulling guns out from under the table. And,
you kind of get the sense that it's like just bang bang. And
you're waiting for the trailer scene to end with blowing him away.
You get that hard black and hear bang bang. Yeah,
and then cuts more images from the trailer. But that said, I mean, like he is looking good there. Johnny Depp actually has, he does have good acting chops, and I think that he is one of the few people left in Hollywood that you can have what I'd call brand recognition / name recognition, where he is the one who is pulling people in. Not the setup of the story of like we're going to tell the story of Whitey Bulger,
right? Which everybody in Boston's going to watch, but
Johnny Depp is the selling point, and he's the selling point because he can pull it off. And the trailer was cut well enough to make me interested because I don't usually see dramas, no matter what they are. Because I
watch dramas all the time. I love them, and especially gangster movies.
I was going to say the last drama movie that I remember actually going to see was another gangster movie with Johnny Depp as
Public Enemies.
Public Enemies, that was it.
Yeah, Michael Mann movie. It was good.
I was just saying, would you actually qualify that as a drama or ish?
Yeah, it's a drama.
Like drama, but it had some action-y scenes in it.
Well, sure, but no, it's a dramatic pick.
It's more of a dramatic pick. I was going to say, funny enough, the last drama I really remember seeing was also a gangster film starring Johnny Depp. But in that, he was more of the I'm a smooth operator, cool kind of guy. But that's because he was playing Dillinger.
Yeah, and Dillinger's stories are actually crazier than the movie makes them out to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, and they actually held back there.
They had to tone it down for the movies.
Yeah, really.
Which you hardly ever hear.
Kind of weird there. But yeah, no, I think that it looks good. I think I'll go see it. And I don't know. This goes back to a little bit more in-depth discussion of like they need more Johnny Depps in Hollywood. I know I could just hear the fangirls out there swooning, yes, more Johnny Depp. But you need more people with brand recognition that just can pull people in. I mean, like, okay, people know Jared Leto ishness, but he's not the same pull.
He was Dallas Buyers Club. He won an Academy Award, for goodness sakes.
Yes, but you can win all the Academy Awards under the sun and over the sun, but just because you win an Academy Award doesn't mean that you're going to have... I mean, like, if you look at the numbers on the ones that won the Academy Award, the one that pulled in the most dollars was American Sniper. That's because people wanted to see that. And, again, not also saying that people, when they're seeing movies en masse, that it's always, cream of the crop or whatever. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I throw that in every time I say that. I don't know.
People like blood sausage. People are stupid.
Anyway, just to wrap up this segment, it looks good. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, go see it.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Depp will be awesome.
We're looking forward to it, mostly because it's of how great he was in Donnie Brasco, and it's another like gangster movie in that same vein. And plus, the story of Whitey Bulger is great. So I think it's be interesting, be fun.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit of comic books here on the OMR podcast. Just a couple days ago, Frank Miller announced that he's going to be doing a third installment of the Dark Knight Returns saga, and he's calling it the Dark Knight Master Race. I actually like the Dark Knight. I mean, like, who doesn't? Despite its kind of obvious slams at Reagan, it was still... overall, it was a good book. I mean, like, the first one was really good. The follow-up, The Dark Knight Strikes Again, was okay-ish from what I've heard. I never read it because the initial feedback and criticisms of it were, I wouldn't say harsh, but I don't know if it was, again, a case of build-up and anticipation and then letdown, but it wasn't... There was enough, I don't like this from the comic community that I was not interested in picking it up. But I think it's worth noting here on our podcast because really Miller's Batman is what's come to people's mind when they think of Batman.
Right, yeah, well, I mean, basically, Christopher Nolan's version of Batman is entirely Frank Miller. That's definitely not Bob Kane's Batman.
No, that's not Bob Kane's. That's not your Adam West.
Yeah, that's not Adam West. That's Frank Miller's version of Batman. And, yeah, sure. I likewise didn't read the second one, mostly because I don't read a whole lot of comics. But, of course, I did read the original Dark Knight Returns. And from what I understand, has a little bit, they're using a little bit of that in the new Batman Superman movie.
Yeah.
So we're kind of interested to see how they use that and which direction they decide to go with things. But yeah, well, interested to see what he does with it. I mean, Master Race is kind of a provocative title.
Yeah,
so kind
there's
of
a lot of
wondering
people
what they're
saying,
going to
like,
do with it.
oh man, are you making this whole thing like a Nazi analogy?
Yeah.
Do I have to... There are people who just aren't overly thrilled with it, kind of wish it would have stuck with the first one, just and that be it, be a one-shot kind of thing. Because
Just do it and be done with it.
Do it and be done with it.
Move on to Sin City. Have a nice day, Mr. Miller.
It was like the first one wraps up with Batman having, well, one... This is your official spoiler warning, okay? 2, and if you haven't left the room or fast forward the podcast by 5 minutes, then too bad. 3, at the end of The Dark Knight Returns, Batman has fought Superman and basically won, you know, because he's weakened Superman. The sun has been shut off for some reason. Like it wasn't.
I remember it's been so long since
I was gonna say it wasn't actually Batman's doing. It was like that there had been some sort of like ash cloud nuke explosion that blocked out part of the sun. I don't think kryptonite was involved, as far as I recall. I think it was just that his energy...
Just that it was blocked out.
Just that the sun was blocked out, so it basically sapped Superman's energy, and he beaten him up, and then faked a heart attack. Has a whole funeral and everything, and after that, he comes back, but is sort of acting like a, I guess you would say, bat mentor to street gangs that have reformed, and using them to spread his good message of fist beatings and trolley womping to all gangs everywhere. But you know, that's how the first comic ends, and that's how many people felt like it should have ended. It just like, okay, Superman knows he's alive, but he's just gonna say, okay, Batman's dead for pretensies, and it was a nice way to wrap it up. And I guess I bring it up also because I'm kind of both concerned and interested, because Frank Miller has influenced, for better or for worse, the way people not only have filmed it, like with Chris Nolan series, but the kind of expectation people have of Batman. And Batman actually started out, as you pointed out, Bob Kane's favorite was Adam West, and that's fair enough for him to like it that way, because the first set of comics and from the Golden Age were pretty campy if you look at them.
They were very comic booky. And it really didn't...
I don't want to say comic booky, but like they were very cartoony.
Cartoony, there you go.
Batman being tied up to a giant cake by the Joker with like huge candles that will explode when they're done burning.
Right, things like that. That's where, Bob Kane, who created the character in the first place, that's kind of what he did. And it was reinvented by Frank Miller into kind of what the new generation kind of wanted Batman to be this dark knight.
It was the Dark Knight,
him to be dark, wanted to be gothic in Gotham. Kind of, and that's really what he brought to it, and really changed the look of the character, and kind of changed the way that all comic book movies kind of were after that. Well, not that Chris Nolan didn't help, but, kind of spread the message of Frank Miller. And so now we get dark gothic for everything. And you're like, no, we kind of like that with Batman. Superman, not so much.
Yeah, nobody asked for a dark and gritty Man of Steel. I think we've said this before, but it goes, and it is worth repeating. It should go without saying.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see if any influence in the future Batman films comes out of this. Excuse me. But knowing that he's already had this influence, knowing that he's coming out with a third one, I kind of wonder if there are people who are already thinking... I mean, they've done an animated version of The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. That's actually pretty grim, and it's fairly well follows the book. And it wouldn't surprise me if they make the next two, the Dark Knight Strikes Back and this last one into these kind of dark cartoons.
They've made a number of animated films which are all very good. Like DC owns the animated films.
Yeah, I was going to say, they may not know how to do the other ones right.
They don't do live action very well, for the most part. There are some good ones in there, but for the most part, the live action ones haven't lived up to how good the animated ones. And the DC animated movies, awesome. Just all of the DC ones that I've seen have been just great. The Marvel ones are okay, but they're not as good as the DC ones. The DC animated ones are like way better.
It is kind of funny in the way that it's flipped like that. All the animated movies that DC puts out are phenomenal. They are well scripted. They are well voice acted. They are well put together. If you see one, I think there's only a few exceptions to that rule, where a couple of them with so quality script writing wise, but the animation is always beautiful. The stylistic versions that they choose, whether it's sort of these odd kind of hard chin, handsome looking Supermans, or even a somewhat grittier Superman, he's still at least that bright blue and red bombshell.
Yeah, the Batman and Superman animated movies are like, there's a few of them. They're all
there
really
are a few of them. They're all really phenomenal.
Yeah, really good shows.
But yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
the only one I didn't like was the one with what's his name, Shazam and Black Adam.
oh yeah, I can't remember. It might be Superman versus Shazam or something. But I remember it was kind of.
Well, there's a little bit too much of the mysticism in there, and it wasn't like the realisticness. Like it was all superpowers and magic, and I don't like the magic stuff. So.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say magic plays its heavy part in also in the DC universe, which I'm fine with.
But it does, but they haven't worked into the movies, and I appreciate that. I don't like magic in my movies because it just kind of takes me out of it. Like, nope, that's not real. Like, I don't know why, because I'd be willing to watch a guy that decides to dress up as a bat and throw people off of rooftops, but no, you're using magic. But that's not real.
But you also like
that's one step too far, man.
Oh yes, but we also like the Star Wars universe, and
well, sure, and that's magic all over the place. But they have rules set for it. That's kind of
okay. So you feel like it's kind of like they have a rule set in Star Wars, whereas
well, there's the Force, and the Force exists, and this is the universe that we're playing in. You know, and just to have like a realistic, mostly realistic universe. And then you have Black Adam show up, and he can, like, move things with his mind or whatever the heck Black Adam does. It's been a while since I watched it. That, you know, I don't know. Anyway.
Anyway, we digress a bit, but that's okay. Long and short of it is, I'm kind of curious if the Frank Miller version this newest comic's going to have an influence, even more so on the movies, or if because of the kind of, I don't want to say bombing, but lackluster sales of the follow-up to The Dark Knight Returns, if it's going to be that his influence is weighing.
Well, maybe, but I think that people are more interested now because Frank Miller's done so much in the film realm.
Yeah.
So I think that probably he's got more influence now, oddly enough.
Really?
Because he's reached outside of comics, and people outside of comics kind of know who Frank Miller is now. So I think that there's that working in there too.
Okay.
I mean, he co-directed the Sin City movie.
I was going to say, he co-directed the Sin City movie, so it's like not like he's just sitting around and resting on his bat laurels or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. It's time for Thank God for Video, where we recommend movies, films, TV shows, or streaming possibilities that you should go out and check out, or go to your nearest Blockbuster, or find on, Laserdisc, Betamax. Oh, well, you should just go check these out. And my recommendation for this week is actually a little bit more about animation again. We talked about it last time. And it is a classic. Well, I don't know if classic is quite the word you want to use for it. You think it goes into classic, not retro territory?
Goes into classic, yep.
Classic retro. Vintage. No, vintage is way older. Anyway, it'd be...
Might be vintage at this point.
No, vintage is like the... from Carl Barks era. And if you recognize that name, you probably know I'm going to be talking about Life is Like a Hurricane here in Duckburg. Yes, DuckTales. I'm going to speak it because I know that's all I have to do to make you out there start singing it, humming it, and just woohooing in the back of your mind. And I think it's worth going out onto Amazon or wherever else you want to pick it up from and grabbing the entire series out on DVD. And it's not on Blu-ray, which is a shame. You should also pick up the DVD and write to your local congressman to petition Disney to release the movie on... it's on DVD, but they should really release it like as a special boxed whatever anniversary edition with lots of commentary and all that. All around, it's a phenomenal series. Great line work, great voice work by Alan Young, as the real Scrooge McDuck. And I don't know, I guess I want to highlight this one because...
I forgot he did that.
Yeah. From talking to Mr. Ed to talking as a duck.
Yep.
But he's great. I mean, he's absolutely... You think DuckTales, you think Scrooge McDuck, you think...
Yeah.
You know, it might have been. I can't even do it like a serviceable imitation. Anything I would do it would just be lackluster in comparison. And part of the reason I wanted to talk about this week is, one, because I'd recommended the Men in Black series last time around, and also because, obviously I have sort of a soft spot for this series. And because I've heard numerous times people say, well, you know, you gotta let kids get into what they're gonna get into, and they'll be into the latest animation and whatnot. And I say, screw that. There's a reason we have these things on DVD and are available on streaming and whatnot. You want to raise your kids, right? You have them watch the same things you did that brought you to the kind of same moral compass or appreciation for animation that you did. I wouldn't want my little girl to start off like watching something that I thought was utter garbage just because it happened to be what other people were into. Like, yeah, you could... I know there's only so much you can do to shield the younger generation. Right. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be like, look, I want this to be your first introduction to animation. You are going to be sitting down watching DuckTales Woohoo. Because it is... all around, it's great. I mean, if you watch the first series, which is like the Tales of the Golden Sun or whatever, where like it starts with Donald dropping off the nephews with Uncle Scrooge before he goes off and joins the Navy, which is getting really bizarre. You don't see any like mothers in this. It's just from Uncle Scrooge to from Uncle Donald to Uncle Scrooge. Yeah. But...
Yeah, Mrs. Beasley is close as you get to a mother character.
Beakley. Why do people think it's Beasley? It's not Beasley, it's Beakley. Mrs. Beakley. Sorry. The true enthusiast knows. I can't remember the voice actors other than Alan Young, but all the other voice acting in it is great and spot on. The animation is spot on. The pacing, which is where I was going with talking about the Tales of the Golden Sun, is great, and that sets the tone for the whole series, because it's like this interconnected 5-part sort of premiere where Scrooge is getting to know the boys, they're getting to know about who he is, and the kind of things he does, these kind of crazy Indiana Jones type adventures. And it's like, how do I say it? It's sort of got this feel that has a semi-timelessness to it, even though there's technology in it. There's not, they aren't popping out their cell phones or trying to keep prescient with the times and playing video game systems. You do have Gyro Gearloose, who's building all sorts of oddball contraptions and stuff, but there's never any of these things
futuristic-ish,
futuristic-ish. Like he's got a time tub, or he's got a robot made out of spare parts in his garage, or I mean, like even Launchpad McQuack flies a biplane most of the time, and the kind of things that they go around in are, I guess you would say, very Indiana Jones-esque, kind of 1920s, 1930s styles crafts. Which is totally fine. I mean, it fits the tone, and you aren't going to leave kids saying, like, oh, what's with that kind of car or whatnot. It's just accepted.
Because it's its own special universe.
It's its own special universe. It's Duckburg. Even though it's not entirely populated with ducks, funny enough.
Life in Duckburg.
Yeah, hold back. It's hard. You just say the name and you want to start singing it, but... one of the other things I wanted to say was the pacing compared to today's TV shows is just so much better. You've got, and maybe it's just because it's one of my favorite scenes, because what it encapsulates for the series is the boys and the nephews and Scrooge are walking through this desert that's experiencing a 100-year flood. During that flood, they're looking for sunken treasure, and they realize that this place used to be a desert, but every 100 years it floods, so it makes sense that there's like a treasure ship somewhere out here. Let's go looking and find it in the canyons. And it has them walking along. It has like actual pacing of them walking. They don't just arrive at their destination magically. It has the pacing that you would expect and want. And I think that's almost in a way an important lesson to teach kids who are watching a cartoon, that, oh wow, things take time. You don't just magically walk from one scene and here we are. And I guess the animation still holds up. It doesn't have, not that I have a problem with flash animation that seems to dominate cartoons today.
Yeah, pretty much.
it's hand-drawn animation, which it looks great all these years later. What are we on, like 20 years now? 20 plus years?
Yeah, 20 plus, yeah.
But maybe next week I'll talk about Tailspin. But yeah, really, this, if you don't already own it in your library, you don't already own the incredible movie with voice acting from Chris Lloyd as well as the villain Murloc, then you should, because that's how you raise your kids right. You introduce them to part of the Disney Afternoon, the original Disney Afternoon, or whatever they've got going on now. But yeah,
kids should learn from a young age that the rich people always win.
Well, yeah. No, I'm sure. It's not much about rich people. Don't interject politics like that. It's DuckTales. It's Scrooge and the boys going out being Indiana Jones, only with feathers.
Yeah, mostly.
Mostly. You know? Like, if it was about rich people always winning, it would be like he would have gobs of money to go out and...
Yeah, he got a giant money pit that he just swam around.
Oh, come on. Everybody wanted to swim in the money bin.
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, you... Say it's not about the rich guy winning. It's about going out and having adventure, which it wasn't like he wasn't bat-bounding out and using like special technology devices and whatnot. It was him. He'd fly. He wasn't in that many episodes. He wasn't always supplying him with whatnot. He was Scrooge and the boys. They're out hiking the location, and Scrooge always was trying to teach the boys the value of a hard-earned dollar. It was always a penny saved is a penny earned. So he was willing to scrimp and save, not just because he was a skinflint, but I mean, there's a whole episode about it where he learns that he has to work hard. So anyway, that's my TGFV. If you don't already own them and you have some sort of like weird high horse about, well, no, I'm just going to let my kids find these things naturally. I'm sorry, they aren't wildebeests wandering in the Sahara or whatever. Savannas. You go put your kids in a kennel and make them watch. I don't know. That's my rant. How about you? Thoughts on that, or do you want to just dive right into your TGFV?
I think I've said enough. I do love DuckTales. I remember going to see the movie with all of us. Went and saw the movie, and I had my pound bag of Skittles that I ate and lost all of the skin inside of my mouth while I was watching the DuckTales movie. And yeah, I still love DuckTales. DuckTales is a lot of fun. So yeah, I'd recommend it too. Definitely. I'd enjoy watching a few more episodes myself. Yeah.
And it shouldn't be something that should just be a recommend. This is my almost reminder too, because it's like, yeah, again, I've known people and see people online who are kind of this oddball high horse about like how no, just let kids we'll enjoy our stuff and kids will enjoy their stuff. And it's just like, if you want to teach them how to appreciate something, it's the same. Maybe now it's my chance to sound like I'm on a high horse, but if you want a kid to appreciate art, you show them Picasso, Monet, you show them the classics. You don't just say, oh, here's something that Shia LaBeouf painted. I guess that's what kids are into these days. So what's your TGFV for this week?
So in keeping with my ongoing theme of only recommending huge blockbusters that everybody's seen, I'm recommending Tell No One, which is a French suspense film, which is incredibly good. Definitely required viewing if you have the literary skills to be able to read and watch a movie at the same time, or if by chance you speak French. Then I'm sure that you would really enjoy it. Basically, the story is that this couple has grown up from childhood together. They've been best friends, lovers since the time they were kids. They go out on their anniversary. They go out and they're having wonderful anniversary, go out, swim in a lake. They have a little minor argument. She swims off. He hears her scream. He goes to swim after her, hops up onto the dock, and gets bashed in the face with a baseball bat. Lands in the water, wakes up on the dock. 8 years later, he gets an email from her. So she was brutally murdered by a serial killer. And they closed the case, said the serial killer killed her. And so the case is closed, but then on the same land or near the land, they find 2 dead bodies and decide to reopen the investigation because nobody was really sure that he didn't do it. And so he keeps getting emails from this mysterious source and seeing pictures of his wife, I guess. I mean, is it ex-wife? I think it's Deto's part. But
yeah.
but he he thought that she was dead, and she keeps telling him that, keeps sending him these messages with, with little things in there. Like the first one, he sees a picture of her and she mouths something at the camera. I don't know what she says because I'm not that good at lip reading, and especially not when it's in French.
Yeah.
And the subtitles didn't say. But it's fascinating. That's totally suspenseful. Goes in so many directions, and there are so many little things. He's got this people chasing him that he doesn't know are chasing him until they catch up with them, and so many different threads. And that's I was reading Ebert's review of it, which it's so seldom that I actually be able to get to quote from an Ebert review. But he says that's, quoting now from Ebert, "There will be times you think it's too perplexing, when you're sure you're witnessing loose ends. It has been devised that way. The director knows what he's doing. Even when it's baffling, it's never boring. I've heard of airtight plots. This one is not merely airtight, but hermetically sealed." Everything wraps up perfectly. It's, of course, based on the book. So they had plenty of material to work with. And from the other people that I've read that have actually read the book and seen the movie, the adaptation is flawless, apparently. I haven't had a chance to read the book, but definitely interested to, now that I know that it's adhered so well. And just fascinating suspense, and just keeps you going the whole time.
Okay.
And just so many different threads, and they all tie up so well, and everything comes together at the end with magnificent performances.
Okay.
Definitely worth watching.
I was going to
Check
say
it out.
That's something.
Tell no one. It's available on Netflix. So you can Netflix it right now. Watch it right now.
So say I'm looking to see, is this something you can watch? And that's good, because I think that good suspense films are hard to find. Ones that you're actually interested in watching and don't already kind of...
where you can't figure out what's going to happen before the end of it?
Well, yeah, I was going to say where there is actual genuine suspense, where you're not sitting there saying, okay, and this is where, in the back of your mind, which happens when you've seen 6,000 movies.
Yeah.
Or so, is you kind of know...
this is the big setup for when they do this. Or I've seen this twist coming 100 times. Yeah. But...
kind of like we were talking about earlier, with I know where this is going, with this kind of a funny how kind of thing with Johnny Depp's Joe Pesci moment.
Right,
you see
exactly. It's I've seen enough movies to know what's happening here. And you don't get that sense from it. Even Ebert, who'd probably seen more movies, I'm sure, has seen more movies than I have at that point. You really regarded it as a really great suspense thriller. And was so pleased to see that, because I just loved it to death. The first time I saw it, just rewatched it and loved it again. The twists and the turns, and him getting all of his the street thugs that help him out on his adventure, and saving him from the police and saving him from the guys. It's so many different things going on in there, and just so much fun. Definitely worth watching.
A good suspense should have those twists, turns that you don't see coming, and that have that sort of, I guess you would say, causes heart palpitations, or what's going to happen? Is he going to make it? Is this person going to die? Is that person going to die? Is this what I think it is? Is it not what I think it is? It's not quite the twist ending kind of
right, and it's not even with the twist ending. It's that's what was happening this whole time. And it's it's not that they go with the, but you should have known.
Yeah, I hate that kind of cheeseballness. It's Where it's,
like, why didn't you notice that he was dead the whole time? Sometimes it works, but most of the time you're just like, really? You played cheap games with me and came up with something. And this one just wraps up with the explanation of what was happening the whole time. It's like, you're just like, oh, okay. Now I get it. Now everything ties together perfectly.
I like it when a
nice, neat little bow. Perfect.
I like it when a movie ends well. It ties the movie together.
It does. It really, it's totally not the twist ending. It just wraps everything up neatly, and you go, oh yeah, of course. You don't go, oh man, I should have noticed that guy from the first scene was the real killer. You're like, no, like, of course, there are movies that do that little trick, and you go, and sometimes it's pleasurable to have that, oh man, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
But then,
you have to. We've seen enough movies where you see that little thing, and there is a huge difference between genuine suspense and somehow a movie. It's like, you don't go and talk to people who are friends to hear yourself insulted with like, oh, I'm so brilliant. Why don't you bask in how brilliant I am? Did you just catch that there? Ha ha. Which is how some suspense films can come off.
They do a lot of the time.
So brilliant.
Which is one of the things that really makes this one work, is that it never treats you like an idiot for not noticing that guy from before.
Okay.
It's really just kind of, it all works cohesively without that surprise. Hey, guess what? Matthew Lillard's the real killer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, so go check it out. That's Tell No One. It is streaming on Netflix right now, so please go check it out while you still have a chance to check it out, because most of you probably have Netflix.
Everyone has Netflix.
Everyone has Netflix. Time for movies that needed a rewrite. And these are those shows that, while they aren't necessarily horrible, bad, awful, or in the tank, sometimes they can be. Sometimes they can be really bottom of the barrel bad. But these were ones that we thought, if they would have tweaked it just a little bit, it might have been better. And for me this week, I'm going to actually go for a Bill Murray film, which, Bill Murray did make a couple of films here and there that just weren't that good. We talked briefly, I thought at first about doing The Man Who Knew Too Little, but when I thought about it, I was like, I want to talk about a movie that could have been salvaged, because the more I thought about The Man Who Knew Too Little, the more problems are just like, no, it was like broken from the start.
Yeah.
And, okay, well, anyway, Larger Than Life. It's a film where Bill Murray plays a motivational speaker, and he's trying to, for whatever reason, he's trying to get that one special speaking engagement that will land him an infomercial. Right. Like, he wants to be an infomercial star for one reason or another, which is kind of funny. I like the setup there. So what happens is he basically, there's no way around it, he inherits an elephant from his great uncle, or from his uncle who passes away, and he used to be a circus clown / trainer, and for whatever reason, he has an elephant to give his nephew Bill Murray. It's it's not like the worst of plot ideas. It's supposed to be like what happens is sort of like the weirdest buddy travel movie you've ever seen, with Bill Murray and the elephant. They're trying to get cross country, and part of what happens, the drama or whimsy or whatnot that you'd say unfolds, is Bill Murray trying to decide whether he's going to basically donate the elephant or sell the elephant. I can't remember whether it's donate or sell to the San Diego Zoo, and have the elephant shipped overseas to Sri Lanka, because the elephant is supposedly of breeding age, and she would be a great thing to help repopulate the elephant population, which would, okay, he's got the noble choice, or he could sell her to the circus, because she knows all these tricks and such, and he's got to get cross-country, and he's got to make the choice between whether sell her to the circus or to, basically give her away. And in all honesty, it doesn't sound terrible. There have been other movies that have had that kind of whimsical setup that have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And when we saw this in the theaters, it was actually pretty funny. It has Bill Murray, obviously, And it also has Jeremy Piven as Bill Murray's talent agent, trying to get him to, get him these infomercial speaking job and trying to guide him to do whatever, like the kind of setups that you'd expect for Bill Murray. And also has Janine Garofalo. I can't remember, get her name right.
Garofalo, yeah.
Garofalo. Janine Garofalo is the rep from the San Diego Zoo saying, please donate this elephant so that we can help repopulate the elephants and all that.
Yeah.
And a really hilarious performance from Matthew McConaughey as a truck driver known as Tip Tucker. And he actually turns in this really, really funny performance, and he's like, they meet his character halfway through the movie because for whatever reason or another, Bill Murray can't just pay to have the animal shipped. He has to go on this journey across country with the thing, and really the reason why he has to do it isn't as important as the, I don't want to say hilarity that ensues, but just sort of hijinks and whimsy that ensue.
Right.
And as Lunchbox and I were talking, he was telling me that probably part of the reason why it has such low reviews, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it has like 11% score. Which is just like, really? I didn't think it was terrible. I'm looking at the box office receipts for it. It was made for $30 million and it only took in like $8 million. And I was going to say I was really surprised because Matthew McConaughey in it was really funny. Like, yeah, in it for like the latter half of the movie, and they keep on running into his like crazy truck driver persona. There's a hilarious montage with him and this kind of country tune. You think I'm psycho, don't you, mama?
Yeah.
And he's great.
I bought the soundtrack just so I could get that
I was
song.
Gonna say, I think that song is only on that soundtrack. But now we have iTunes, so you can probably find it by itself if you want to get there. Yeah. But it's a fun song. That said, it wasn't a perfect movie. Obviously, or else it would have tanked. And Lunchbox was saying that they cut out large portions when they released it to video of...
They did. I guess like Matthew McConaughey's performance was too dirty for video. Because when they released it on video, or at least the Blockbuster version that I saw, they had cut out major portions of Matthew McConaughey's performance, which I thought was the funniest part of the movie.
Yeah. And, which that gets to the crux of why I wanted to talk about rewriting it. It's not... I don't know whether it's because Bill Murray just wasn't the right fit for this kind of movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it kind of is, because he start off and he's really, really interested in becoming an infomercial salesman, which is... kind of like, I guess you would see, it would be a really funny role to have Bill Murray in. In fact, I think it'd be great to see a movie where Bill Murray just plays an infomercial kind of guy. That's something I think would be fun. But as far as like this kind of oddball buddy travel across the country and have whimsy moments movie, I don't know. Because he has these different things where he learns about the elephant along the way, and he learns to care more, which he's done well in other movies. I mean, before this, he had played in Groundhog Day.
Right. And
it could just be that, how do I say it? It could be that the director shot it in the wrong order, because I remember reading that Harold Ramis, before they had their falling out, I mean, like, most of the good films that you'd see were pretty much collabs with Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
Because Harold Ramis knew how to work with Bill Murray, and it was, like, he had shot, apparently, all of Bill Murray's, like, happier days when he's learning to enjoy life, and, wow, okay, I can actually use this whole I'm trapped in one day thing to not just help people, but better myself as a person. He shot all that stuff first.
Yeah.
And then shot all the other stuff, when he knew that Bill Murray would be getting tired and kind of acting like a prima donna. He shot the prima donna stuff last, because he knew that Bill Murray would be kind of acting.
He would be that person.
He would be that person, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch.
You're right.
So for whatever reason, though, Bill Murray doesn't sell it as well as he should as this guy who learns to live and love elephants and learns to, well... I don't think it's too much of a spoiler alert, because it's a whimsical, happy, feel-good show when your choice is between the evil circus, which is going to give the poor elephant electric zaps every day for the rest of its life, or send it off to be happy and live and frolic with the other elephants and, leap like gazelles over whatever. That he's going to make the right choice in the end. Yeah, I don't think that
obviously.
Really, that's not really a spoiler alert, and I don't know, maybe you could say it would have been better if he sold her to the circus, but... Truly, just some
might have been, actually.
Oh, that would have just been sad. I think you need those whimsical movies. The problem is he didn't. the movie is short. It's like an hour and a half. And in that time, they have too much setup of him being a jerk. There's just too long of him being a jerk before he starts to have that kind of turn of learning to love the elephant. And it's, how do I say it? It has this totally unnecessary. I would have loved to have seen more stuff with Tip Tucker, the kind of crazy truck driver, and have them. A kind of hilarity ensues actually would have worked better than this elongated scene, and I feel bad saying this, where he basically stops in New Mexico and helps a small village put back together like it's a church steeple wall, and they use the elephant's strength. And I don't have a problem with kind of feel-good moments in the movie.
Right.
But it's just that one scene alone, if I could have erased that, rewritten it, or had some other scene where he has some really powerful connecting moment.
Or at least shortened it. I mean, it just went on too long.
It went on too long. That whole scene drags.
Yeah. And it's just like this big dead spot in the movie.
It's a huge dead spot in the movie that does not make sense tonally with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And now we're having this nice adventure. It's me and the elephant. And if you wanted to make the whole movie actually about Bill Murray and the elephant going around and helping people and walking cross country, that also would make a good movie.
That would be
because it'd be like Bill Murray and his elephant movie. Instead, it's like kind of a buddy film that has this really dead spot. See, I just rewrote it to make an even funnier movie. I'd pay to see another Bill Murray elephant movie where he's going around gallivanting around the countryside, like Lone Ranger and Tonto.
Yeah, we'll make larger than life too.
Only this time he's going around saving small villages, and that's just the whole movie. He's doing like these, I don't know, benevolent things. Just. And he has an elephant for some reason.
Like Kane in Kung Fu.
Yeah, basically.
Just wander from town to town, from place to place, doing good deeds.
Yeah, really. Basically, see, this works. Okay, we have a better framework here for a...
Could make an entire television series out of that.
I know. Yeah, Elephant Foo or something. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
Something like that.
Pachyderm. There we go. I don't know. Closer. I like Pachyderm. Anyway,
Pac Foo.
Pac Foo. There we go. Pac Foo. The
Foo.
legend continues. It goes back to me to that dead spot. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else up to that point, there is a little too much of him as a jerk. There's too much of a dead spot there, and too little Tip Tucker, Matthew McConaughey.
More Matthew McConaughey.
More Matthew McConaughey.
That's what I always say. Every movie needs more Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, just that little bit of crazy.
Yeah, and he is like just totally over the top. And this is like back before we knew who Matthew McConaughey was.
I was going to say, this is back before he was a really big name.
Like before he was a name. He's like this random side character.
Yeah.
Like he's Brad Pitt in Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Like he's like just
really, no, that's
guy.
a good comparison because he's just this guy.
Just a guy in it that like we happened to become famous later. It's like we really didn't know who he was at the time. He was just a guy and turned in a performance like I hadn't seen him in anything before.
Yeah.
Like I know I'd seen him in other things, but he didn't play a character like that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, this guy, he's a little unhinged.
Yeah,
he
did it well.
And he really did it well. And you're like, and that's why I bought the soundtrack, is you think I'm psycho, don't you, Mama? And him doing the crazy thing. And you're just like, yeah, it totally works. And he nailed it. Yeah, he's very good in that. He's better than Bill Murray in that, I would venture to say.
Well, but it's because Bill Murray might have been slightly miscast. The other movie that I just pitched where Bill Murray goes around and you throw in the Kung Fu style, that's what it should have been, rather than do I sell the elephant or do I free the elephant or sell it into slavery, which is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my rewrite. I think a little bit of tweaking here and there, it could have been fun.
Yeah, I think a few tweaks here and there could have been a lot better.
So what do you got for us for Thank God for Video?
Okay.
Uh-oh, heavy sighs. Not a good sign.
I know that you're going to give me a hard time about this, but I picked a horror movie.
Okay, yes, I hate you already. Continue.
And it's shot found footage style.
Okay, I'm hating you more. Continue. Yes, this is good.
But it's actually really good.
Okay, now I know you're lying. Go ahead. Keep on going.
It's The Last Exorcism.
Okay, and now I know you're high. So tell me what you would have done to fix a horror movie, a found
found footage horror movie
that kept it one rewrite away from actually being something decent. Because
it did. And there is one. It was one small change. Okay.
Well, okay. If that small change was pitching it into a fireplace, I'm all with you. Because any script that's a horror movie, especially found footage, if it's thrown into the fireplace, that's the best rewrite possible.
I would with pretty much it, but the concept is so great.
Okay.
So this there's a preacher who does exorcisms,
as they do,
like they do, and he is going out on his last exorcism, hence the title. And so he's become disillusioned. He knows that he's been making all of it up this whole time. And so he invites a documentary crew along with him to film his last exorcism so that he can tell everybody how much bunk all of this is. And the whole movie is him basically explaining everything that's going on and why this is happening. Like, no, she's just mentally disturbed and this is why she's doing that. No, she didn't really get pregnant from a demon. It's that guy that she was dating 3 months ago. And there's complications and mix-ups, and maybe it's the dad that actually impregnated her, and maybe there's like really weird things going on. And so there's like all kind of weirdness, but he ends up explaining like this part and that part away and everything. But he goes through and explains it's like actually really he's debunking that he's actually exorcising. And then we get to almost the end. And he goes out to the cafe, and if you decide to see it, I don't want to give away what happens.
We can always do like a countdown spoiler, because I'm not going to see it.
You really should, because the first part of it, up until... Okay, here, let's do this. If you want to see it, which you should, because most of the movie is actually really good, then... what I will tell you is, after they leave the cafe, shut off the movie. That is the end of the movie as far as you're concerned. There is nothing that ever happens after that point. Okay?
At this point, I think we could call that a lunchbox trope, like, shut off the movie.
Shut off the movie. That is the end of the movie, okay? Nothing happens after that. No, they did not make a Last Exorcism 2. There is nothing after that. Nothing happens after that. Don't even think about... I didn't watch Last Exorcism 2 because there's no reason to, because the movie ends as soon as they leave the cafe. Okay? So if you want to see it, as soon as they leave the cafe and they screech out of the parking lot, that's the end of the movie. Okay?
Alrighty. That's it. You've got
okay?
your, this
you
is
got
where
it.
You shut off the movie.
That's it. That's where you shut off the movie. If you don't plan on seeing the movie, then we'll give you your traditional 3 countdown, and I'm going to give 5 minutes of some spoilers. So, 1, and a 2.
And a 3.
And a 3. So he arrives at the cafe at the end, and the boyfriend that she knew that was the one that everybody assumed impregnated her tells them that he's gay. So they leave, and I'm like, oh, well, of course, it's the dad. And then they go back to the house, and there's like strange writing everywhere all over the house. And they go out and into the middle of the woods, and they've got the girl, and she's giving birth to a demon baby in the middle of a black mass. And it turns out that everything was real, and this guy was totally full of it. I'm like, that is totally exactly the opposite of what the entire rest of the movie was. Like, you cannot do that as stupid and, like, stupid giving birth to the demon baby ritual. No. I have no interest in seeing a sequel on that. No.
Okay, so
you ruined it.
Okay, so it's not the spiritual overtone thing. It's just the fact that, like, everything up to that point, like... Is it for you? It's not that. It's more of it like, okay, this is a cheap... Aha! It was real. Is it too cheap? Is it that cheap cop
yeah,
out?
I mean, yeah, well, that, yeah, because it was, like, realistic, and none of this is real, and, you know, there's, no, they're not really demons possessing people, they're really, mentally ill people, and, and we need to, maybe we should do something about that, instead of, like, pretending to do exorcisms here, and that's what the whole movie's about, up until, like, the shock ending, where it turns out everything's real. I'm like, no, stop, no. Because even if you accept, when they screech out of there, there is still a possibility that it might be totally supernatural, even if you go with that.
The way they played it out was bad?
The ending is still stupid.
Okay.
Like, it's still, even if you go with that, even if you are believing the whole time that the preacher's full of it and demons really do possess people, even if you go with that, the ending is so poorly done, it doesn't work.
Okay. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, and then it turns out, yeah, there really are this. It's that like, okay, and now this is where we screw it up because maybe we are fine with doing a twist, but the twist is so poorly executed.
It was like you could barely see what's going on. It's all like way too shaky camera.
And this
like,
is where we spin the camera.
Yeah. Oh, no. The ending was like, I really, really liked that. Really, really liked the movie. Last Exorcism was not really, really good, but it was a good movie. I maybe exaggerated, but it was a good movie. It was enjoyable. And like every single person that came up to the counter, I'm like, this is a good movie. As soon as they peel out of the cafe, shut the thing off. Because that is the end of the movie. Like, nothing happens after that. You don't need to watch anything after that. Like, okay, you're going to be tempted to. Just pause and go get some new popcorn, okay? Just so you know, that's where the movie should have ended. And you come back to me and tell me that I wasn't right, that's where the movie should have ended.
Okay, so there you have it. Lunchbox's One More Rewrite was The Last Exorcism.
Went on too long.
Went on too long, which seems to be a common theme with these things.
It seems to be a thread with me, yes.
And now time once again for Lunchbox with Strained Metaphors.
I really don't like the one this week. I gotta be honest. Like, I had this whole idea on what I was going to go off on. Like, I only had the one quote that I could come up with for it, which is from Fools Rush In, "You're everything I never knew I always wanted." Which is, granted, it's a decent line.
There's nothing wrong with
but
that.
It's the iconic line from the movie. It's like the "You complete me" from Jerry Maguire. It's that kind of line. It's a romantic comedy, and certainly it's a funny one. I definitely enjoy it. Matthew Perry, very funny. But really, it was this past week. My wife, Jamie, started a new job, and it was like she basically took it because it's closer to home. And it's basically what she had been doing before. And walked in and found that it was so much better than her previous work environment. It was just like people were friendly to each other. And everybody talked and offered help. And all of this that she never got in her previous job.
I'm really getting that Cheers vibe. Where everybody... Anyway.
Yeah, where everybody knows your name. And actually, somebody was working there that she had known from like 15 years ago at some job she had worked at. So,
moments, yes.
So it was kind of, that was kind of like the idea of like, and even I just fairly recently started a new job that was just so different from what I had been doing before, and ended up being so much better environment of where I was. It kind of like led me to the idea of not just your everything I never knew I always wanted, but even in starting that new job, it's everything that I never knew I always wanted. Like, I've never been in an environment like this. I've never been with somebody like this. It's that you get that thing that you didn't know was missing, but once you have it, you're like, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like. Oh, yeah. Oh, now I get it. Now I understand why people like going to work. This is why I understand why people are happy in relationships and not complaining about their SO all the time. Oh, now I get it. Now it works. So I think that it kind of applies more broadly than just like finding somebody or, and that sort of thing is that, even you're going to, your new job, or you're going out to try playing volleyball or whatever, it can be so much more than what you thought it could be. And what you think it could be is kind of based on your past experience. And your past experience has led you to believe that everything is a certain way. And you don't know that things can be different until you experience that. So whether you're, going out to play volleyball or trying a new job or meeting somebody new, then really all you need to do is
swipe right. Exactly. So, well, thank you for joining us again on the One More Rewrite podcast for Lunchbox. I'm Jester.
Toodaloo. Bye.